Booting system functions also include the booting process. Basically, what's the booting? And there are two types of booting: cold boot and warm boot. Different type of functions, and this was the basically startup of the Windows, which we call the boot process. Here we have to start from here. Operating system functions. And basically, operating system loads the configuration information and display desktop on the screen. When we start the Windows, the desktop is basically the first interface that displayed on the monitor screen. That is basically the desktop that of the screen. Operating system execute programs in the startup menu. If you can see on the laptop, that at the bottom left we can see the different, you can see the word start, or you can see the icon of the Windows, and there are different if you are using different windows, then this will be depict differently, but the purpose is same. If you click it, then there are different menus and folders will be opened. Okay, basically, what is the user interface? User interface is just like what is displaying on the screen right now in front of you. Controls how you enter data and instructions and how information displays on the screen. Basically, these two are the user interfaces. And the first one is the command line interface, in which you have to enter each and every command for executing a task. In the right hand side, there is a graphical user interface. You use only the mouse or cursor to to open a file or a folder, just like that. If you have to do some task, you just have to click it and your task will be executed. Okay, and the other function of operating system is multitasking. As its name shows, that the multiple tasks that are going to be done. Okay, in which a single user can perform multiple tasks. Just right now, I am having a meeting with you guys by using the Zoom interface. I also have an operating system that then it me sorry, I also have opened the Microsoft PowerPoint. Then it means I'm doing multitasking. How I have currently I'm using two different applications and using both of them simultaneously. So I'm a single user who is using two or more applications right now. Allow a single user to work on two or more applications that resides in the memory at the same time. Basically, memory is a RAM where your applications are currently executing. Basically, if we have to execute each and everything, our things must be in the memory. Memory means RAM. Everything that is going to be executed will reside on the RAM. Again, what are the other management features of operating system? These slides are basically about the functionalities of the operating system. Multi-user, as its name shows, operating system enables two or more users to run a program simultaneously. Again, multiprocessing, as its name shows, that multiple processing can be done by it. Operating system can support two or more processes running program at the same time. Again, there is a fault tolerant, continues to operate even if one of its components fails. For example, if I'm talking about the multiprocessor, if one of the processor get not working properly, then all of the components will not get failed. Operation is its operation will be completed further. Again, other function of the operating system is memory management. Memory management, if we talk about the memory, then it means we are talking about the RAM. Okay, optimize the use of random access memory. It's basically allow us to use RAM in optimal way. Just like that, if I have to use if I'm performing multitasking, then it allow me to operate multiple applications in RAM. It's basically allocates or resign data and instruction to the area of memory while they are being processed, monitor content of the memory, clears item from the memory when processor no longer require them. Basically, if operating system assigned a memory to some process, then it means after the execution, after the processing, that resources will be released also. Let's suppose if I'm working on a Microsoft PowerPoint, then it gains a memory. Memory will be allocated to the this application in the RAM. So these contents or data and instructions of this application will be saved, and then after execution, Microsoft PowerPoint will release its memory when processor no longer requires them. If I'm opening it and using it after the closing, after the close of this window, then it means my from the memory it item will be vanished, cleared. Again, operating system also allow us the functionality of the virtual memory. Virtual, basically, as its name show, that is not physically present. Okay, not physically present means if operating system basically, if I have to execute something, as I've already told you, then it will resides in the RAM. Okay, it will reside in the RAM. Just I'm opening a Microsoft PowerPoint, then it means its contents and its data and instructions are have some memory in the RAM, have some space in the RAM. So as we are talking about the multifunctionality, multitasking, then it means at the current time there are multiple processes, multiple tasks are going to be performed. So as the memory size is not large, okay, so we have to execute each and every task that is user requesting for. So for this, but all of the, as I have told you, that all of the processes will be in the RAM. So to deal with this, as RAM is not large in size, so some part of the hard disk will be act as RAM. Okay, as it's shown in the diagram, just like that. RAM, again, some portion of the hard disk will act as a RAM. Operating system allocates portion of the hard disk to function like RAM. So when we need to execute that task, then that page or the basically process or page that in this scenario, that process is called the paging. Again, a paging concept is introduced that you will see in the next lectures. So the page will be loaded from the hard disk virtual disk area to the RAM. And again, this is the concept of paging introduced here. You will see in the next slides. Again, how does an operating system schedule jobs? As I've told you that multitasking is allowed by the operating system. Then how we will manage the task, how we will manage the resources. So how we will manage the resources. So each process will get the resource timely. Okay, as they don't have to wait for the resource for a long time. Let's suppose if process one, if I'm trying to open a Microsoft PowerPoint, at the same time I'm trying to open a Google Chrome, and at the same time I'm trying to open the calculator, same time trying to open a Paint. So it means all of these processes will get space in the RAM. So this will be managed? So each of the process gain the resources timely and correctly. So this is also can be done by the operating system who will that allows to schedule jobs. Basically, job is an operation the process manager. Basically, the process manager, what does process manager do? Process manager receive data from the input devices. Okay, but if we want to enter some data from the input devices, then it will also receive by the process manager who will handle this. Again, process manager also send information to an output device. For example, I have if I'm trying to open the my file that is already saved, then it means I need an output device that is a printer. Or if I'm trying to print a document, then it means I need a printer to print a document. That is also an output device. Okay, so this will also be handled by the process manager who will send information to an output device. Process manager also do the processing of instructions. Basically, what actually this process wants to, if I'm trying to open a Microsoft PowerPoint, then it is the duty of the process manager that it will open the Microsoft PowerPoint, and it allows all the features or instructions that are required by the this applications. Okay, transferring items from storage to memory. Basically, all of the our files that we have saved and are permanently saved. They are saved in the stored in the store secondary storage memory. Basically, secondary storage memory is the memory that store the files or data permanently. Again, it is non-volatile. It means our data is saved. If electricity supply is cut off due to some reason or any other reason, then our data will be saved. It doesn't mean that our data will be vanished. So permanently saved data in the secondary storage devices, that is the hard disk mainly. If we talk about generally about the secondary storage device, then the first device that comes into our mind is the hard disk, in which our data is permanently stored. Again, it is also the responsibility of the operating system that will transfer the data from storage to the memory. As I have opened this file that is already saved, the file is saved already in the hard disk. But if I, as you can see, that I have opened the file, I have opened the your lecture, that file is loaded, transferred from the hard disk to the memory as it is displaying on your screen. Again, there is another concept of the spooling. Basically, it's also the functionality of the operating system. Spooling, you can see, you can say that this is somehow resemble with the concept of buffering. Not exactly like that, but it resembles with some to some extent with the buffering. Basically, let's see. Here is an example of the printer. If we are using a system that prints job sent to the buffer instead of the directly to the printer where the print jobs were their turn. For example, if I'm working in a, if our computer is connected to a network, okay, then in the network there is only a single printer. So each computer at a time currently send a request of printing. See, so how their request will be sent, because printer can print only a single document at a time. So to handle this, where the all of the request will reside, there is an concept of spooling introduced, where print queue is maintained, in which all of the requests come as, and then their request will be entertained and their document will be printed. So there where print jobs wait their turn. Again, there is a print queue where all of the requests come, and according to the algorithm and according to the scenario which will be executed next is the also you can say first come first serve will be introduced here. So if the computer once let's suppose in the network, if the computer one sent a request for the printing, so it will comes first. If the computer 2 sent a request for printing at the second interval, so there will be in the queue at the second time, at the second turn will be the request of computer 2. So here is properly a queue will be maintained, so printing will be done by the and printing will be done, so the processes come sorry, so the request come out of the queue and the printing will be done. As you can see, jobs to be printed, again there is a disk, because pooling is basically linked with the hard disk. This means hard disk, and again jobs being printed here one by one, the jobs will be printed. So how does there is another function of the operating system. Basically, how does an operating system monitor performance? Basically, there are different you can say there are different programs executed, different processes executed. So if we want to see the performance, so if we want to see the performance of the operate system, so how can we see? By graphically, by charts, or by facts and figures about the tools, about the physical memory, about the kernel memory. So this type of information can also be seen. Provides a program called Performance Monitor, basically that assess and reports information about various system resources and devices. Basically, it's about again, here's the concept of foreground processes and background processes. Foreground processes are basically the processes that are executed in front of us, that we are working with. The background processes that are executing in the background, we don't know how they are working and what about that now as a layman. So If we want to check which type of process is, if we want to check the resource utilization of the specific process, so that reports can be assessed, that information can be assessed, which process is using how much resources, so that information can be displayed by process monitor performance, system monitor performance. Again, there is another concept of management files. This is can also be done by the operating system, as you have used the computer. So you know that our operating system can, our files, our folders are properly managed. Basically, our hierarchy is maintained. If we start from the basic, then we have the drive, again main folder, and then main folder has a subfolders, and subfolders have different files. So basically, proper hierarchy is maintained, files are properly managed. So this is the also duty of the operating system, who allows the management of the files. It includes a program called File Manager, such as Windows Explorer, in which you can search for your specific file or a folder. Again, the command that can be used for the folders, you can copy the folder, you can rename it, you can delete it, move it, create folders. It's basically according to the requirement of the user, what actually the user wants to do. So this can also be done by the operating system. Basically, all of the file management can be done by the operating system. And there is again file allocation table, that is FAT. FAT. Basically, this is the table of information that operating system use to locate file on the disk. As you have used the computer system, so you know that there are different type of files that are saved. So different type of files are saved, different type of folders are saved. So which type of where your current required folder is located, again there is a table from which the operating system search and use to locate the file on the disk. Again, this is the disk, is the hard disk. There are different sectors and tracks on the disk. There is also clusters for the hard disk. Basically, this is the structure of hard disk. If we are dealing with in the network, then how the operating system help us? Basically, operating systems functionality of the operating system on the network are basically it establish the network connection. It help us in establishing the network connection. How our traffic, basically traffic is, you can say the data transfer is referring to it, controlling network traffic. So if I want to send a data from the, let's say, if this client want to send data to this server, again a request, client request for from this server, then it means its request only be sent to this specific server. This is also network, you can say controlling of the network traffic, that its required request will not be sent to the other servers. So closing network connection, if our connection is in the computer system, if we have used the resource, if we have to use the resource, first we have to request for the resource may be your CPU, your process, your RAM, your hard disk, any of the resources that are available, your registers, your buses. So you have to first request for them. After using them, you have to release it. So this is also the proper way out for using the resources. After establishing a network, controlling the network traffic, there is the also responsibility of the operating system to control, to close the network connection. If we talk about the objectives of the operating system, basically the objective of the operating systems are to make the computer system to use in the efficient manner. So basically, if we have to use the operating system computer system efficiently, we have to use the resources efficiently. Firstly, we have to make the computer system convenient to use. So convenient in terms of graphically, convenient in terms of user, in which users are feasible. So make the computer system convenient to use in an efficient manner. Efficiently means, let's suppose if I'm working I'm working through graphical user interface, and the other person is using command line interface, then that is not, command line interface is not convenient for user, because for a single click other user has to have to write a complete command for the execution of their process. Just like that, if I'm trying to open a file, I just have to click on the icon. Whereas if the user has to open a file by using CLI, then the user has to write a complete command for that. Again, to hide the details of hardware resources from the user, we have discussed in the previous lecture that there is the abstraction layer. Basically, if the programmer concern is just about the programming, it doesn't programmer doesn't have any link about the any link about how the program will be implemented, how the hardware will work. So it hide the detail of hardware resources from the user, because user doesn't have any link about the hardware details of the hardware resources. Third point is basically to provide users a convenient interface to use the computer system. Again, this is the graphical user interface that will be easy for the users to use the computer system. To act just like that, if I'm trying to delete a file, so there is a proper an icon of a dustbin. Now, for the layman, it will be easy to show that the if your document will be deleted, or obviously the trash will go to the dustbin. So in terms of this, all of the icons are used in the resemblance of their need. To act as intermediary between the hardware and its users, make it easier for the user to access and use other resources. Basically, it's just like the definition, like thing, for you. If you want to interact with the user, want to interact with the hardware, then there must be a layer. There must be something that resides who provides you the who provides you the this facility to interact with. This is also an operating system who act as intermediary between the hardware and its users, that will be easier for the user to access and use other resources. To manage the resource of the computer system, again, how which process will use how much resource, which process will use the CPU first for the how much time, this is also the responsibility of the operating system. To keep track of who is using which resource, which process is used, to keep track of who is using which resource, to keep track of who is using which resource, granting resource request and mediating conflicting requests from different program and user. For example, as I've told you that different processes are executing, different tasks are performing. So who will use the CPU first for their processing? Because processing is done by the CPU. For each process that has to be executed, it will have to use the CPU by hook or by crook. Okay, then there will be, maybe there will be a conflict of who will use the first and for how much time. So to resolve this is the also responsibility of the operating system. So this which keep track who is using which resource. Again, if the process P1 is using, let's suppose if the P1 is using the printer, again, and P2 is using the monitor. So both are utilizing the resource of both are using the output device for displaying their information, granting resources request and mediating conflicting requests from different programs and user. If other process comes and want to use the monitor, so this request and this conflict will also be resolved by the operating system. Then how it will be managed, this will also be done by different algorithms who are available for the process scheduling. So this conflict can be resolved by using algorithms to provide efficient and fair sharing of resources among user and program. So basically, there will be a fair share of resourcing. Just like that, there will be no unfair for any one of the process. If different processes are executing, so each will have the fair share of the resource among users and programs. So what are the functions? Sorry. Again, we talk about the operating system architectures. Basically, today's operating system tends to be complex because if there is something easy, so at its background there is something difficult also will be happened. So today's operating system tends to be complex and it will adding functionality, new functionalities again and again. It will different features. It will have different features available, so but their complexity level will also be enhanced as compared to the previous versions of the operating system, because it provide many services from the previous versions, support variety of hardware and software. Operating system architectures help manage this complexity. So this will also the architecture of the operating system that will help it to manage the this complexity. Again, there are operating system structures that, as we have talked in the previous slide, that architecture that manage this complexity. So operating system structure is a concept in which general purpose operating system is very large program, various ways to structure ones. So as general purpose operating system is large, so we have to deal with, we have different ways to structure one. The first one is simple structure, that is MS-DOS, disk operating system. From this version there will be a little complex, that is Unix based operating system. And then we have a layered structure of operating system, then again that is the layer of an abstraction we have discussed in the previous lecture. And again microkernel, who has Mac.